Hello and welcome to Premier Study in Investing. It's great to have you. Thanks for stopping by. So, looking at Moderna, trying to make money, trying to help you make money. Let's look at this. Let's put our heads together and see what we can come up with. So, chart has been down 24.68. It's just a few cents above book value per share. Okay, it's up 3% on the day. So what? Short float has come down. It used to be at 19%. Now it's at 17.42%. So some people are probably taking some money at these, taking some profits at these lower levels. The big question is it going to break hard below this level? Well, there's a lot of chat on that. So what I'm going to basically do is give you my best bearish case. I tried to make this before and actually realize some things. So this should actually be better. So we can be thankful for that, and hopefully it'll be smoother. But I just realized I kind of missed something conceptually. And so it's good to review these things if you're going to take a major stake in this. All right, let's start with the COVID cases. This is from Our World in Data. You can see it goes through August 24th, 2025. We've got ticked United States, UK, India, Germany, France, Canada. Pretty much most of these countries are not even reporting on these anymore. But the UK, out of 1 million people, is reporting 4 cases per million. Yeah, this is a 7-day rolling average. So about 4 people out of 1 million are getting it. In the UK, in India, it's essentially 0. In Canada, they literally report 0.000. Okay, so it's like when you're thinking about Moderna, a company that stands basically completely on COVID sales, well, this is great data to understand why the share price is collapsing. All right, next point. There was this hearing. There's been a number. But this came out September 9th, 2025. You can watch it probably on YouTube. This is the Children's Health Defense Network. And the participant, so it was put on again by Senator Ron Johnson, Senator Blumenthal, and they had 3 different guests come on, as you can see, lower part of the screen. So witnesses were Aaron Siri, he's a managing partner. You had Toby Rogers, PhD, who was really helpful, and then Jake Scott, MD from Stanford University. All very intelligent people, no doubt about it. What Aaron Siri presented, we've heard him talk about before in prior, this is the Permanent Subcommittee on Investigations. I guess he chairs that, Ron Johnson. But I think this was the part of the Senate Finance Subcommittee. Anyways, Aaron Siri basically talks the same points he's been talking. He doesn't like the immunity on vaccines. And he talks about a lot of other things. Primarily, he's really, really strong on this Ford study that I guess he pushed really hard to get put out, although it's never been published. Because in his basically testimony, he says, hey, it's really great that the people published the Ford study, or they wrote it at least, they did the research, but it was so damning or something like that they would not publish it. Yeah. Okay. The second guy, Toby Rogers, he's nice in the sense that he basically explains to you why there's a general disagreement, how we're hearing 2 claims related to have these things, whatever, name your product, has been tested against a placebo. Essentially, he says, Toby Rogers I'm speaking about, explains to us that there's 2 definitions of what a placebo is. So the conservative group that he's part of would say placebo needs to be placebo in the traditional sense, as in it's saline, it's an inert substance that has no biological responses from a person taking it, something like that. Whereas the other side would say placebo can be a much broader definition. Like a placebo could basically be people that got the prior vaccine. Yeah, so huge disagreement, and that basically cleared up for me some of this confusion about people saying, oh, this was placebo-controlled. These are some of the most placebo-controlled, most studied things ever. Who do you believe? Well, that's why they're disagreeing about the definition. Lastly, Jake Scott, very intelligent individual, but man, I would say that he got killed. This was kind of a blowout. If this is a football match or something, it was a huge blowout because I think Jake Scott is aligned financially, or maybe his job requires him being, working at a California-based university, that he can't say certain things. And because he cannot admit to knowing certain things, it makes him sound really out of touch with the times. Yeah, it was a bit embarrassing. What is this? So there's a bearish bit of news. Next piece. There's this guy, Nicholas Holscher. He'll be on papers with, he works for the McCullough Foundation. You can see here. He's on different papers as an author with people like Kevin McKernan, with Dr. Peter McCullough. So he's not some joke or some hack, or, he's the real deal. Master of Public Health. So I want to read this to you because he's been saying for a couple posts now, going back to like September 16th and maybe September 12th, like the release of earth-shattering study was briefly delayed due to recent world events. The wait will be short. Its drop is imminent. When it lands, the implications will be global. So he said that twice. What is that about? I don't really know, but what has he posted since then? Something about brain damage. And then this is what was really caught my attention. I'll read it to you, but what it basically is that they found like some tumor material, and they looked at it, and what they basically found was the integration of Pfizer plasmid. It had basically integrated into the 19th chromosome, and then it was like a perfect match. And essentially, they tell you down here that the probability of a random 20 base sequence perfectly matching a predefined target is about 1 in a trillion. So it means that it's almost impossible that this is anything other than material from these shots integrating into the gene sequence. Direct genomic integration effect within circulating tumor DNA. So they basically had this lady, she was 31 years old. She had taken 3 shots of, now this is the important part, Moderna. I didn't catch this before, and this is the mistake I was talking about. I thought she took Pfizer. And so I thought that they had found Pfizer material, had integrated into her genome. They found it in one of her tumors, and then they basically published the study. But that is all correct, except she didn't take Pfizer. She took Moderna. And what they found was, what they're basically trying to say is Moderna has not published like their plasmid reference. But what they say here in this sentence, which is kind of technical, the sequence aligned perfectly, 20 out of 20 BP, identity to a segment of these bases from 5,905 to 5,924, so there's your 50. With a spike open reading frame, coding region here on the Pfizer BioNTech plasmid reference in their gene bank. Okay, and then it gives you the reference number. So they explain what it means. Although, how could she take Moderna and then end up with a basically perfect match for some material found in the Pfizer shots? And she says, he writes, although the patient received only Moderna injections, 3 of them actually, the sequence aligned to Pfizer's published BNT BioNTech 162b2 plasmid reference, because Moderna has never deposited its proprietary plasmid in this, let's just call it data bank, the NCBI. So crucially, both Pfizer and Moderna vaccines encode the same perfusion stabilized spike protein, and therefore share identical stretches of nucleotide sequences with the spike or F coding region. It is within one of these conserved regions that the integration was captured, so that's where they found it, producing the perfect 20 out of 20 BP match to the Pfizer reference. So I think, what does that mean? I think that's equally bad for both Pfizer and Moderna. I really do. We have a big decision coming out from the ACIP in 2 days. It's a Thursday and Friday, September 18th and 19th. I think it's on the 19th on Friday, where they're going to be talking specifically about their advice, their advisory committee for the COVID injections. Yeah. So if you go to American Thought Leaders, it's part of Epoch Times, YouTube, umbrella of media sources or outlets. It's called, American Thought Leaders. You have Robert Malone giving an hour-and-a-half interview talking about what it's been like since he joined as a volunteer, some of the political battles that have happened, how they had to fire a lot of people who are basically like blockading the progress. There's been a lot of effort from CDC higher-ups to limit the scope, right, down to, instead of letting the ACIP talk about whatever seems relevant to the ACIP, Robert Malone is saying no, they're putting a lot of pressure on us to only be able to talk about this narrow band of stuff. And so we're pushing it out. We're saying we need to talk about all the relevant issues that are going on here. So what's going to happen? Well, in my opinion, the time is now. They have cleared out the whole ACIP. They had this new lady come on last week where shares dropped 7% on this company, claiming that there was some VAERS report that she dug up where she found that there was certain deaths within children related directly to vaccination. So a lot of people said that's 25 kids. You know, that's not nothing. That is real. That's somebody's kids. You know, but also people said, hey, like, you know, these are not perfectly safe. You know, doesn't mean we should get rid of them. That's the counter argument to that, right? Well, anyways, you have all this, I don't know, Maha push. It's a very turbulent political time. Recep Levy. It seems like Trump and RFK Jr. are well aligned. And so this is going to be big. So if you are with me that it's going to be big, some big decisions are going to come out, and now is the time, then what are the possibilities? You have this study, basically proof that these materials integrate into people's genomes. Yeah, and then I guess they become cancerous. I guess that's as a non-medical person, that's my interpretation of this. It's 1 in a trillion chances that this would happen by accident, that this is actually like integrating into people's chromosomes. Yeah, it's like a gene therapy. It's like a gene modification thing is happening, and now they can prove it. Now this is right on the eve of this ACIP meeting. So what are they going to say? They obviously know that information. Like I said, Robert Malone was vaccine injured. Yeah, these are real people. You can hear them for a long time saying very, very negative things about these products, and you have a bunch of people that are very wary of A, what's been done to their profession, and B, what's being hidden about vaccine safety. This is their moment. This is their time to shine. This is what they got voted in for. Are they going to drop the ball? I don't think so. So they could either do A, say, this is not safe tech, and we're going to put a moratorium on mRNA. Pfizer takes a huge hit. Moderna takes an awful hit because that's their entire pipeline. They go down to single digits. They have to. They'd have to go down to like $7, $5, I don't know. I mean, even though they have $13 of cash per share, dude, their whole pipeline is basically been unauthorized, right? Unsafe. Should trade for pennies, honestly. Okay, let's say they don't go that extreme. What are the other options? Someone in the comment section said, well, hey, let's talk about, I think it was Cash Girl 1985. Thanks for your comment. I thought it was really interesting what you had to say. And essentially what he or she was saying was, does Moderna have any advantage given that their product is free of the SV40, so simian virus 40, that Kevin McKernan has been talking about for a long time, and Kevin McKernan is putting out papers. And if you want to go over to TFTC, it's a YouTube channel primarily based around Bitcoin, but recently had, I think, Jennifer Rose on, who worked with Kevin McKernan on integration, a lot of safety signals and things like this. And she makes it really plain. Like, she makes it really, really plain, like that there's a lot of concerns. Yeah. And that they're being found and they're being reported on. Okay, so you have all those people. If they don't just do the moratorium, what could they do? I guess what they could do is say, we've identified the SV40 sequence, even though it wasn't reported in the safety data package, according to Robert Malone, when Pfizer submitted their initial paperwork for vaccine approval in 2020 or whatever that was. And but now they know it's there. So the argument is basically, would the ACIP go after specifically Pfizer? Because this is like the more problematic, as you have these increases in argued, or people are claiming that there's this huge surge in cancers that they would go after. Basically, they would cancel Pfizer. They would say, look, we don't like either of these products, but Pfizer's the worst one, so we're going to get rid of that, and we're going to put down some clamps on Moderna. What that would mean, though, is, Moderna's sales would essentially triple. They go up 200%. Yeah, because it's like a $7 billion market, and let's say Moderna has like $2 billion. Let's just be generous and say they have $2 billion. They're going to get like an extra $4.5 billion or so coming over towards them. Now, if that happens, I think that's why I bought calls. $27 calls and then $50 calls. $50 calls are really cheap. Short term, just for like on the other side of this meeting. But if Pfizer gets canceled and the government approves, Moderna in its place, that basically makes Moderna's day. Yeah, and this girl, Jessica Rose, she's not a girl, she's a woman. she says that these gene therapies are not going away, and that's the future. That is the future, and that's what we're going to be seeing a lot of in the future. So that could happen. I think personally for me, it's like I have to have calls on that stuff, even though most of the story is very negative. If they don't do one of those two big moves, then what are they going to say? They're just going to restrict it more, just put more restrictions, make everybody have to get a prescription. Yeah, I don't think that they're just going to say, forget Pfizer, forget Moderna, and everybody go get your Novavax, because Novavax is not available for kids under 12. So I said that before, I'll say it again. I just don't see how that's viable, that you have parents that do have kids with conditions. And I mean, I don't know of any great therapies, right? All the people that are talking COVID therapies, even, what was that one that Pfizer put out? I can't remember what it's called. I don't know how well it works. I mean, maybe it does. I know you can get it by prescription, but I guess they could do that. And what would happen in that situation? Pfizer goes to something, I don't know, they lose some money. Moderna basically goes to zero, because if they get rid of those vaccines and switch them out for therapeutics, yeah, I mean, that's kind of my second scenario. Or the third scenario would be similar, like restrict it and try to push therapeutics. I don't see that happening. I think the Maha crowd would be very upset with that. Maha crowd wants these things canceled, basically, across the board, I would say. I mean, this guy, Nicholas Holscher, does. I mean, he ends the article saying exactly that. Look, he says, this evidence compels the immediate withdrawal of all COVID-19 mRNA products from the market. So, Peter McCullough is the same. Peter McCullough is out there saying that there was only a theoretical benefit, and there was very obvious harms. So those are the words that he likes to use. So I just can't imagine they're going to keep these things on the market and try to tell everybody, hey, we advise people to get more vitamin D pills. Like, Maha is not going to be content with that. Peter McCullough is not going to be content with that. People with cancer, Robert Malone with his vaccine injury, are not. I just cannot believe that they're going to be content with that. So I say either way, Pfizer goes down, in my personal opinion. And then there's I don't know what percentages to put on there. I guess I don't know what to do. I have three options. I guess I can equally weight them. 33% chance that Moderna goes down to like $5. 33% chance that it goes up to like $45. And a 33% chance it just kind of continues to face like a slow death, because the government continues to put more and more and more restrictions on people being able to get access, or the public gets more and more like kind of over the idea that COVID is even a real serious thing, and they just have like this slow death over the next couple of years. Should be interesting. See what happens later this week. Get positioned as you like. Now you know what I'm doing. All different levels of puts and two different levels of calls. One at 27 and one at 50. So I have multiple contracts at both those levels, and then mostly contracts, put contracts. All right, thanks so much. Bye.